A vacation is supposed to be an escape, right? A break from all the stress. But what happens when the person you're escaping with is actually the source of the problem? Today, we're going to break down what a vacation with a narcissist really looks like. And let me tell you, it can be a carefully orchestrated nightmare from the moment it's planned. So, you're planning a trip. You're thinking about connection, adventure, all those great memories you're going to make. But our source material asks a really important question. What if the person you're going with has a completely different agenda, a hidden one? That's what we're digging into. We're going to lay out all the red flags, the ones that pop up before, during, and even after you travel with a narcissist. So let's get right into the warning signs you absolutely should not ignore. And here's the thing, the manipulation, it often starts long before you even think about packing a suitcase. Let's look at this first phase, the financial and emotional cost you're expected to pay right from the get-go. So what's their motivation here? It's really interesting. According to our source, the core of it is that a narcissist is actually afraid to travel alone. It's not because they want a companion to share the good times with. No, it's because they need one. They need a shield against their own insecurities. So how do they make sure you come along? Well, this slide just lays it out perfectly. When it comes to paying for the trip, it is not a partnership at all. You're expected to cover everything. We're talking flights, hotels, food, the whole shebang. And their contribution? Yeah, it's nothing. Zero. And how could they possibly justify this? Well, our source points to a very specific tactic. It's a performance, really. They pretend to be in a chronic poverty crisis. This isn't just, being a little short on cash this month. It's a never-ending drama that just so happens to flare up anytime a bill needs to be paid. So here's the kicker. Even after you've paid for the entire trip, do not expect any appreciation. Seriously, no gratitude, no thank you, not even a nod. Why? Because in their mind, you spent that money to make yourself happy. They just got to tag along for the ride. All right, now let's get to the trip itself. Once you're actually on the journey, the manipulation shifts. It goes from being about money to being deeply emotional. Our source calls this confusing and isolating experience the ghost game. And the games start, well, pretty much immediately. You'd think you'd be excited sitting together on the plane, ready for adventure, but a common first move? They will make sure they do not sit next to you. It's this immediate act of separation, creating distance and control from the very first minute. And that control, it extends to the simplest things. They might just vanish for hours at a time, but according to our source, you are not allowed to ask where they went. Their time is their own, and you have absolutely no right to an explanation. And this all leads up to what our source calls the ghost game. It's a textbook 3-step pattern. First, they just disappear. No warning, no note, nothing. Second, while you're probably worried sick, they will ignore every single one of your calls and messages. And then third, they just reappear, acting like absolutely nothing happened, leaving you feeling confused, anxious, and totally off balance. Now, while all of this emotional chaos is going on, let's not forget about the financial side. It's still happening. The source calls this a 3-dimensional theft because it's happening at every single stage of this trip. The rule here is brutally simple. If you trust them with your money for any reason, maybe you ask them to pay for a tour or grab something from a shop, the source is crystal clear. They will take what they can. And they probably won't tell you about it. And all of this behavior, it really just serves one purpose, to get something called narcissistic supply. Think of it like fuel. They get 2 types of it from you. First, there's positive fuel. That comes from the power trip of stealing your money and spending it. And then there's negative fuel. They get that from the distress and confusion their behavior causes you. So you see, they feed on both your resources and your pain. And that is exactly why it's called a 3-dimensional theft. They take from you before the trip by making you pay for it all. They steal from you during it, and as we're about to see, the exploitation keeps on going long after you've returned home. It's a full cycle. So the trip is finally over. You're back home. You might think the games are done. Well, you'd be wrong. Now a whole new set of rules comes into play, what our source calls the rules of reception. This is a pretty wild one from our source. Let's say they go on a trip without you for some reason. When they get back, there's a very strict rule. You are not to ask for a gift. You're not entitled to a souvenir or any little sign that they were thinking of you. In their world, they owe you absolutely nothing. Instead of getting anything, your job upon their return is to perform. You are expected to be happy, smiling, and totally accepting of whatever it is they did while they were away. Your feelings? Irrelevant. Your cheerful reception is all that matters. I mean, this behavior is so calculated, so destructive. It just leads to the biggest question of all. After seeing all this manipulation, you just have to ask, why? What is the real reason for all of this? Our source material gives us a pretty chilling and very direct answer with this quote. When a narcissist tries to stop you from traveling on your own, it is not because they love you and they'll miss you. That's just a convenient story. And here it is. This is the final crucial piece of the puzzle. The reason they control your travel and really your entire life is because they see you as a possession, an object that has to stay put. You're not a partner, you're property. And property isn't allowed to go off and have a life of its own.
Which of course brings us to the last unavoidable question you have to ask yourself. When you look at this entire pattern, the financial abuse, the mind games, the complete lack of respect, is this journey, whether we're talking about one vacation or the entire relationship, truly worth the trouble?